Hi everyone, I hope you enjoyed week one of the course. We've just jumped into week two, and now we're going to talk about what it's like to become a police officer and the associated stresses that come along with the job. So, the steps in becoming a police officer typically follow the following. They have, before you take the exam, depending on the state that you live in, there's a minimum age education requirement. There's also an age requirement here in Massachusetts. You can't be over the age of 36 to become a police officer. And the reason for that is simply that you won't make the mandatory retirement age. It's to save somebody the heartache of working what would be a full career and being told to leave before you would hit your eligible percentage of years for retirement. You really wouldn't you'd be dumping money into the retirement system and not be able to get it back. So, aside from education and age, there's typically an exam that you would have to take if you're a civil service town or municipality, or you would have to apply just like you would apply for any other type of job. The next part of it would be if you've made it through the background check, and this is something that's really important, and a lot of students aren't aware of this when they walk in the door. You can't have a speeding ticket for 3 years. You have to be moving violation free for 3 years prior to your application. And you also cannot have a criminal record whatsoever. I have to say that in the past, people have asked me, well, can they look at your juvenile record? No, they can't look at your juvenile record. But here in the state of Massachusetts, under the Massachusetts Criminal Histories Board, we print off a thing called a BOP. The BOP stands for Board of Probation. And the Board of Probation is really, the nickname for that is the rap sheet. And the rap sheet comes out, and it comes out it just comes out of the printer, and the first few pages, or however long the juvenile record is, comes out first, and then it's separated by a row of 3 asterisks. Then you have your adult record. What everybody's told to do through the Massachusetts Criminal History Board is to discard the information prior to the 3 asterisks. I'm going to be honest with you. Everybody should be discarding it, but we're all human, and we tend to take a look at things that sometimes that we're not supposed to look at. And I know in past practices and with fellow colleagues in the field that they have used that juvenile record as a character reference of how an individual may perform once they're on the job. The other part of the background check is a psychological examination and interviews of people from your past, maybe neighbors, school teachers, friends, family members, you name it. Anybody that can get their hands on to find out who you are as an individual. Then once you've made it through those stages, you'll be moved off to the training, which is also called the academy. Academies range from 26 weeks to 36 weeks, depending on the size of the agency and the location. Here in Massachusetts, the Municipal Police Training Council runs 26 weeks. That means that if you become a police officer anywhere at the local level, meaning a town or a city, you have to go through a MPTC academy. Once you've made it through the academy, then you go into your probationary period. You get assigned an officer, or you get, depending on the size of the town, you get put out on the road by yourself. If you're with an officer, that officer will do an evaluation every 30 days on your performance. If you're by yourself, your supervisor will take into account your calls for service, the amount of tickets that you've issued, and keep in mind, there isn't a quota here in the state of Massachusetts. And then once the probationary period ends, now you're a full-fledged active duty police officer. The second part of the week is job stress. And this is where I either gain students or I lose students. One of the things that I pride myself in is that I'm very honest about the job and some of the negative things about the job. I'm not going to sell you a pipe dream, have you work your butt off through and earn a degree, go through the academy, and then you finally realize that this isn't all that it was made out to be. And the reason I mention that, and I address it this way, is that I want people to be fully aware of what the job entails once they get on it. And some of the negative aspects of that are related around stress. The suicide rate for police officers is 3 times the national average. The divorce rate is roughly around 85%. Substance abuse is 3 times the national average. and life expectancy is around 55 years old. Now, life expectancy, people would say, oh, because they're getting shot, it has nothing to do with injury on the job. It really has a lot to do with diet over the course of the career. Typically, police officers they don't end up with time to eat lunch or take a break. You're on call for the 8 hours that you're assigned. And during that time, you might want to sit down and have a meal. And you sit down, you take one bite, and the radio goes off, and dispatch sends you to the next location. I remember when I was working, when I first started, I had heated up my meal 6 times in a course of 8 hours. So you can see where that comes into play, and that you can't really eat that healthy. So people make fun of police officers that are hanging out at the local donut shop, but donuts are carbs and carbohydrates, and they fill your stomach up really quick so you don't have that hungry feeling. But they also turn into glucose, and then they end up being fat cells, and that's where we have overweight police officers. But it really comes down to a lack of opportunity to sit down and eat a really healthy meal, and just trying to stuff something into your mouth right when during the course of your shift. Well, I hope I answered some of your questions for this week, and if you have anything else, please feel free to reach out to me. I look forward to working with you. Thanks.